hormone and the thyroid axis. Kevin, a lot of questions around, hey, when I'm taking growth hormone, should I also be taking T4? Growth hormone IGF-1 in peripheral tissues, so think, let's say, your skeletal muscle. This increase of T4 to T3 conversion. So it's...
You know, I really got to find a new wardrobe situation, because when it's 105 degrees outside, these hoodies are just not doing it anymore. So, all right, time to go to the gym. Thing I love most about the Teslas here is this thing's going to drive me. You know, and people are like, oh, you know, you should, you know, the Teslas are bad for you because of the battery and because of this and because of that. It's like, listen, you know, I know enough about health to know that something's going to kill you at some point, no matter what you do about it. So you might as well try to live your life with the most conveniences and enjoyment possible. So I thoroughly enjoy the fact that this Tesla can drive me anywhere I'm looking to go. You know, it takes out the inconvenience of having to drive myself. I can, you know, my phone has this little magnetic thing right here. I can fucking, you know, watch a show or a YouTube video, or I can text somebody or look at an email. So yeah, it works out for me. It's real nice. So anyway, we're heading to the gym right now. Hit some arms and abs today. The good old beach muscles. And I did legs yesterday, but I didn't feel like filming it because my last video I filmed was legs. And I didn't want to put two back to back of me training legs, you know, unless that's what you want to see. But arms and abs today, probably my least favorite day. I am notorious for neglecting abs. And I don't recommend it, because sometimes I'll get some pelvic instability because my legs get so strong. And I have no... Here, put this thing in auto drive now. I have to wait till I get past this stop sign area. Sometimes the thing tries to take me in the wrong turn. Anyway, so yeah, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend skipping abs. I get some pelvic instability when I go to train legs sometimes, because the abdomen facilitates the pelvic bone. And if my pelvic bone isn't stable because my legs keep pulling on it, I'll get some tension in my QLs and lower back. So definitely something I need to stop neglecting. Core has never been my favorite. I think largely it's due to the fact that my core cramps a lot, you know? Or I'm just being a little bitch. Probably the latter. You know, no more of that. So we're going to train some arms and abs today, some beach muscles. Got my pre-workout here. 2 scoops of pump and from Lifetime. And then I got a little bit of hydrate. I've been reducing my sodium intake because I've been learning some stuff about growth hormone mechanisms and how, you know, basically it increases sodium retention in the body. And I was having some flare-ups with water retention. And I had to scale back a little bit on the electrolytes because my body was retaining too much water. And as a result of that, the pumps were nice, but it was painful. It was painful. I'd get some head rushes. My hands would fucking hurt me. So I had to scale back on my electrolytes a little bit. That seemed to fix most of the problem. So back on the grind here, a little bit of electrolytes, 1 scoop of also creatine, about 5 grams in there. I do 5 grams in the morning as well. I mean, you can go upwards of 30 grams of creatine in a day. A lot of people ask me, like, when do you take it? How much do you take? I believe there's a saturation point for the muscles around 10 to 15 grams. Again, that's largely dependent on how big the person is. You know, more muscles, obviously more creatine saturation. But past that point, it becomes more of a cognitive benefit. You know, your body uses it more towards brain function. you know, it's essential. Creatine's essential function is just to create energy anyway, but it does have some secondary and tertiary benefits when it comes to, you know, transmission in the brain, hydration, a whole bunch of shit like that. So I use 5 grams in the morning when I wake up, 5 grams before my workout. And if I'm not working out, I just do 5 grams a day. That's about it for me. I also eat red meat, you know, so I get creatine from other sources. So I don't really need to supplement that much of it, just a little bit. And that's that. Yeah, so now I'm going to play some music here, get into the zone, head to the gym, and I'll see you when I get there. All right, the core is extremely complicated. You have so many muscles that encompass the spine because the spine has to be able to be mobile in all dimensions, right? So you have core muscles that will facilitate every dimension of that movement. So when I'm training core, at least aesthetically, the only thing I really care about is kind of the more visible muscles. You know, none of the internal matrix. That's more for stability. It's more for power production. There's a lot of factors that'll come into consideration with internal core mechanics. But what I like to focus on mainly for aesthetics is some type of flexion motion from the top half. You know, my shoulders coming to my waist. The bottom half, my waist coming to my shoulders, and then some sort of side bending motion too to encompass some more of the obliques and more into my serratus as well. So right here, I'm doing a motion where I'm actually pinning my foot down to actually do an oblique crunch. You know, and the key with that too is having the lower body stable so I can flex all the way to my hip without it becoming mobile. And I'll have a dumbbell at the bottom to anchor my foot up. And then what I'll do is I'll open my core slowly and actually get a slight rotation because I don't want to keep it closed off. If I'm actually crunching in and I come down and I'm in a slight angle forward, I'm going to feel my lower back start to activate. So what I want to do is keep my chest up high and get a rotation to my elbow so I actually open up and you'll feel a big stretch deep into that core. So doing a few sets here. And then we'll be probably moving on for the day with core. Only going to do a couple of things, mainly for aesthetic components, and that's about it. Okay. It's a fucking weird angle, man. Let me try to get a little closer here. I've been really enjoying this one as like a shortening exercise. And what I mean by that is like there's really 2 ranges you have to think of. One is when you open and one is when you close or shorten. And when you're shortening the bicep, you're flexing it, you're balling it up. And you really want to train it through its full range, both in that shortened range and in that lengthened range. So I'll tend to start with either a lengthening exercise if my biceps are feeling really tight. And if they're not really feeling tight, I'll start with a shortening movement to really pump a lot of blood back up in there. So I've been loving this machine, man. It's not like a traditional preacher curl. It's more of like a horizontal stress. So instead of the angle coming downward, it's actually coming up high. It's almost like you're doing like a high cable curling movement. And I tend to enjoy that because the way it feels is pretty smooth. It's on a track, so like you don't have the variation of the cable of trying to find that right area to where like the forearm doesn't come in. It kind of fixes your body into a very specific angle and feels very smooth. It's also belt driven too. And sometimes I feel like the belt-driven machines just track better because they don't wear down as much, opposed to like, you know, you have like the cables that tend to fray over time, and the pulleys that they're on tend to like get a little bit worn down as well. This moves very smoothly. So I'm doing some sets here just to warm up my biceps, and then we're gonna go over to probably the dumbbells, do some free weights, and stretch those fuckers out. So always keeping in mind whenever I'm doing a bicep movement is I'm trying to squeeze from the pinky side of my hand. Oh. Mm. Oh. Mm. Mm. Oh. Oh. All right, so whenever I'm doing an incline curl, I don't like to put my butt on the seat, mainly because when I sit down flat, my posture has a propensity to kind of lean forward. And when my shoulders start to point forward and down, my bicep tendon is going to shorten, and it's going to take away the exact thing I'm trying to do, which is lengthen the entire bicep, right? Because if my shoulder starts to fold forward and my biceps connected up there, it's going to shorten the muscle. Whenever you change the distance of a joint, like two bones, coming closer together, the muscle is going to automatically shorten, right? You can't prevent that from happening. That's just the way it works. So I want to try to pin my shoulders back as far as I can. And the easiest way to do this is if I put my feet up onto a bench. So that way I take myself and put myself into the seat by taking my feet and pushing backwards on a slight angle. And when it pins my back against the seat, I can actually fully open my shoulder joint. Because when I'm sitting like this and my spine starts to round towards the bottom, I'm getting an arc in my spine. And that's going to make me want to try to bring my shoulders forward and collapse the joint. So I want to try to make sure I open up and extend all the way. And that's what's going to allow me to get that full range of motion coming through my biceps. So a little tip for you. I won't do it any other way. I think if you switch it up and you just try it yourself, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in terms of being able to feel the full length of the stretch through your range of motion. All right, so whenever I'm doing an incline curl, I actually don't sit on the seat itself. I actually put my feet up on the seat. That way I can push my back and anchor it against the seat pad. And why I do that is because if my butt's flat, I'm gonna have a propensity to sometimes bring my shoulders forward as my back is pushing against the seat, right? My shoulders are coming forward. That way when I'm coming down like this, I'm actually shortening the bicep tendon. And what I want to do is I want to lengthen it, right? Because if my tendon goes all the way through the shoulder and connects to my shoulder blade, I want to try to anchor that shoulder blade backwards. Because if I shorten that distance by making my shoulder collapse forward when I'm doing my curls, I'm going to eliminate the main function of what I'm trying to do, which is stretch that entire muscle. And the only way that I can ensure that that happens is by anchoring that area, by pushing back into the seat as hard as I can with my feet on the bench. That way I can get better leverage. And I recommend you try it yourself. Try it seated. Try it with your feet up. I prefer it with the feet up. Well, I'm kind of lost for words right now because I have no idea what the hell just happened there. A little disappointed. I had very poor performance in the gym today. I couldn't connect with anything. You know, I couldn't feel half of my movements. Like, you know, there's a point where you feel the muscle engage and connect, and then there's times where you feel like you're just going through the motions. And today it felt like I was just going through the motions. Like, I had failure to connect on most of my exercises. My pump didn't feel that great, and it sucks. But, you know, sometimes you have days like this. You know, sometimes you feel like you got to regress back a little bit. You know, when I think about it clearly, it's probably due to yesterday. When I hit legs, like I fucking crushed my legs this morning. I couldn't even get out of bed because everything was hurting. And today it just felt like probably my nervous system was shot. I didn't have enough food in me. I don't know what the case is. I can make excuses, but at the end of the day, it's probably just that my body needs a rest, you know? So I get it. Look, sometimes if you're dealing with something similar, like if you feel like your performance is lacking in the gym, it's probably a good sign that your body is not able to keep up with some of the recovery. And this is probably a good sign I need to increase my food. So, you know, a little demoralizing today. I didn't get as much as I wanted. You know, I was having a hard time connecting with a lot of my movements. So I didn't end up filming them. A little bit of frustration. Man, it just, you know, it's a little bit of a bummer because, you know, when you look forward to training, you know, all day and you get excited for it and then it doesn't go your way, it just kind of demoralizes you. And you don't get your little jollies off. You know, you don't get your little dopamine spike for the day. It didn't feel, whatever it is. You know what? Sometimes I feel like these things happen for reasons that we'll discover with time. And, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's like there's people out there that are starving and I just fucking had a bad workout. Like, I'm not trying to say my problems are that big of a deal, but, you know, it just is a bummer. I didn't really get as much as I wanted to today. And it's, you know, it's funny because it's doing the two body parts that I feel like I struggle with the most too. And maybe that plays a significant role in that. I'm not very sure. What I do know for certain is it was not my day. So I'm going to have to probably just increase my food for the rest of the day. Recover a little bit, relax. I don't know. But I don't want to get too depressing here. But because, you know, you swing and you miss sometimes, you know. That just means next time you connect, it feels that much more satisfying. So, all right, the rest of the day, probably going to go home, just rest, relax. I don't know how I'm going to occupy the rest of my day. Just collect my thoughts, try again tomorrow. No, tomorrow I'll take a rest day. Yeah, I need some days off. I'm sorry, friends. I wish I would have had more to cover today, but it just wasn't my day. Wasn't feeling it. So, all right, on to the next one, I guess.